Hey, welcome to another episode of the Cultivator Culture. I'm Coach Austin. That's Coach Greg. Today we have a very special guest. It is the very first quarterback in Steinbrenner football history, Christian Carriere, graduate in 2011, um, cancer survivor, now a cop and a father and a husband. Christian Carrier, we appreciate you joining us. What's going on at 10 o'clock at night on a Monday?
We managed to get both kids down to sleep, so we're in a good spot right now because they're both still asleep.
Listen, how old are the kids?
The little one actually just turned 2 months yesterday, and the other one turns 2 years in about a month in August.
That
Awesome.
is, that's it's quick. You'll learn that these phases in life, although incredibly annoying, because they require all your attention, they give way to better days and better conversations, and you start to miss the diaper days. You start to miss the can't speak English days, and
Yeah,
but
because it's the wrong color bottle days. Yeah, we're
yeah.
going through all of it right now.
Dude, the have to pack everything before we go days. Like you got to
Oh yeah,
pack the pack and play and the diaper
oh yeah,
bag and the extra 7 changes of clothes because they blow them out in the back. And dude,
oh yeah. We had two of those yesterday with the little one. Yeah.
phenomenal, phenomenal.
The best
Let's
is when you get to the store and you realize you didn't bring any diapers with you. You're like,
Oh yeah.
no.
hey, the worst. We love it, and likewise the erratic sleep pattern days, where they would sleep every 2.5 hours, and then they wake you up because they want to
Yeah.
play. And you're like,
Yeah.
dang it, this is not good. Or they
Yeah.
want to eat, or they're wet, or they're cold, or they're just being babies, and you're like, please speak English. Like it's 3 in the morning. I don't know what you're saying. And then they
Yep.
and then you give the baby over to mom and boom, everything is good.
Pretty much.
See how Coach Greg left? Because that happens to all of us. Don't worry, Christian. Um, let's go. Let's rewind a little bit with you. Was
Yep.
our first graduating class at Steinbrenner, um, but also had played football and was at Sickles High School prior to Steinbrenner. Now, when you got to Steinbrenner, you did you play quarterback at Sickles prior to?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yep.
uh and then when you got to Steinbrenner, it was Coach Graham, who's the head coach at the time. And he introduced a very interesting offense called the Razor offense. Do you remember such an offense, Christian?
Never seen it before. Never seen it since, but yeah. Oh yeah, I remember it.
Let
Think
everyone
there's
know.
probably a strong reason why.
Yeah, explain to everyone listening and watching what exactly the Razor offense was.
So we had myself who was right-handed, and then Danny Fernandez who was a lefty, and we would both line up off center, and we would basically be able to mirror a play any which way, theoretically, I should say,
Yeah.
any which way, depending on what would be better for us in that situation on the field.
Now, what
So
did you think coming from Sickles to a brand new high school? What was your thought about the Razor offense?
it was new, different.
Yeah,
I think we found out that it just there's a reason why no one had really done it,
yeah, yeah, no
but it,
doubt.
it took us a little trial and error to get there.
Yeah. Do
I mean,
you
listen, some of that was probably user error too, but
Oh.
I mean, it was a
Yeah,
great idea.
I would love to see if that offense was run with like a just a amazing roster of guys. If they could pull it off, it would have the same effect.
I feel like it would be something where it would be like almost like a old school like University of Oregon type thing where you just have a bunch of stud athletes like no one really like just insanely big and all that, but just stud athletes.
Okay, ready? It's Michael Vick and it's Lamar Jackson, the righty
Yeah.
and the
No,
lefty.
It
When
works.
Michael Vick, like Michael Vick at his prime, it's like straight backyard football.
yeah, pretty much.
But you know what? The problem is we had you and Danny Fernandez, so it
Yeah,
was.
we were no Mike Vick or Lamar.
But here's a bit of trivia question. Do you know how the Razor offense got named the Razor offense?
If I had to guess, probably something to do with the Razorbacks.
Okay.
Mm,
It's like a guess. Coach Greg, do you know how the
I
name
do.
the Razor offense? Please share with us how you why it was named or why it became the Razor offense.
The Razor offense is my understanding, and I know I will be corrected if I say anything wrong here. But the Razor offense happened because of Coach Perez, who is now the head coach at Steinbrenner, decided to take a Razor scooter down a big hill and went head over heels and destroyed his shoulder. Had to get surgery, and Coach Graham
Yeah.
thought it was the funniest thing in the world, so he called it the Razor. He had a
Oh,
nickname too for Perez back then, but I don't remember what it was.
uh,
That is great. I never knew that.
yeah, that's why we called it the Razor offense. Isn't that funny? Like, listen, back in your day, there were a lot of funny stories that had nothing to do with football because the
Yeah.
football was god awful when we played. In the day
Oh yeah.
when Christian played, we also with two quarterbacks, we were running a wing T offense because Coach Graham was an old school wing T guy, which made
Yeah.
very little sense having two quarterbacks back there. Um, but what did you think 2 years into Steinbrenner football? Remember, we shifted out of it and then we swapped
Oh yeah.
between you and Danny, and then you ended up taking over as the primary quarterback. Um, what was your favorite memory? What was your favorite memory at Steinbrenner?
Favorite memory at Steinbrenner. Football related was probably the very last game where we beat, I think it was East Bay. At East Bay
Ah,
on like the very last like 2 point conversion play.
that's
Was that
it.
the McKnight over the middle of the end zone?
Yes.
Yes. Yes,
Isn't that
yes,
crazy
yes.
how we remember that stuff?
That's also the
Yeah. All come
McKnight. Remember that also is the McKnight switching jerseys from playing middle linebacker and center and middle linebacker and tight end. Remember
Yep.
that? So we
Yeah,
got the in
he
between
did a little
series
bit of
flip.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That was one of our favorite ones as well too, the East Bay.
Yeah.
Remember he got a 15-yard penalty after that 2-point conversion because he slammed the football.
Yeah. I was gonna say, didn't he like Gronk spike it
Yeah.
type stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Li-
don't think
Listen,
the
that's
officials
another
like
guy we got to catch up with
Gronk.
because yeah, we're drunk
yeah.
because you guys are like it was a different brand of football back then. It was a different culture back then. Tell us what the school was like back 2009, 2010 and 11. What was like back then?
The football overall was just this like hodgepodge little league, throw it all together, see what we can do
Yeah.
type deal. The school though, I mean, I thought it was a cakewalk. You can ask Buscus. There was days where I would just spend, I think, whatever seventh, eighth period, whatever the last period of the day that my class was directly across the hall from him. But there was days I just go walk in his class and sit there and BS with him for an entire period, and no
Wow.
one really said anything.
That's
Passed the
that's
class.
amazing. Were you a good student?
Yeah, yeah, for the most part.
Do you think that you were a smart quarterback?
No, God no.
So,
Did you see
do,
my numbers?
do you think that playing the quarterback position requires somebody that's athletic, somebody that's more smart?
I think smart will out trump it any day. And I
Yeah,
don't think, I think looking back now, I see it a lot differently and I understand a lot more. Kind of like the overall scheme of things and stuff like that. But at the time, I feel like I was halfway athletic, so I could kind of
Yeah.
cover up some things with that. But yeah, decision making, I was terrible.
Yeah. No, you were athletic. As I remember, we were fortunate because both you and Danny were athletic guys. Um, but you just happened to be athletes playing quarterback. And
Yeah.
all the guys that we had were, like you said, a mishmash of guys from all sorts of high schools. Um, but managed to put together a couple of good seasons. Which season was the best season for you?
Uh, I'd probably say the first one because it was kind of just new and fun, and we had a mix of kind of almost some softball JV games thrown in there too, so it was kind of nice to actually win sometimes. Um,
That's a
but
2010 season.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Because
No,
20
oh
and
nine, oh nine.
because the
oh
oh
nine.
09 season, and
Yep.
I listen, I totally forgot this as well. We were at the Villages. Coach Perez does this quiz thing, and he and I are the last coaches that were there from the very beginning. We played who? Do you remember the very first game?
Strawberry Crest.
Okay. Do you remember what the score was?
Don't. I know it was pretty close, so I think.
It was Greg. What do you remember? It was 6-8,
It
8-6,
was yep,
or yeah,
or 16 to 8, one of the two.
16-8 or something like that. Okay. We're gonna get fact checked on this by Coach Perez anyways. This is Do you remember why the score was that score?
I do remember that we could not kick an extra point to save our life, so we went for two on everything.
That's right. I forgot that,
Yeah,
but
oh yeah.
it was we had to go for two because there were no goalposts at Strawberry Crest. Remember
Oh,
that?
okay. Forgot that part.
So
No, I just
everybody
remember
had to,
later on the season we went for two on everything.
yeah, because we were awful at kicking. That was true too.
Yeah, yeah,
But I totally forgot that, but it brought back all of those memories of that season too. Because remember
yeah.
Robinson that year at halftime?
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then
that was a beat down.
remember Jesuit that year too?
Another beat down. Yeah,
Phenomenal. Like I don't know how we lined up against those teams, and those were powerhouses at the time. And Jesuit's
I
still a
don't know
powerhouse now.
who in Hillsborough County school thought that was a good idea.
Why? But then they mixed us up with a couple JV teams. Remember that?
Yeah,
And it was
yeah,
like, oh my gosh, this is a whole lot different than getting abs. It was like the movie Little Giants. Remember
yeah,
that?
pretty much.
We were getting smush. I mean, it was 50 to nothing at halftime with Robinson, and they
Yeah, I think Jesuit
listen,
wasn't much better.
nah, and it was absolutely a misery. But you're right, we did play a couple of JV games where we won a couple,
Yep.
um, which then led to into our first official season. Our first
Yeah.
official season. That you remember what our record was, Coach Greg?
I
First
do
official season,
7-3,
7-3. Do you remember
and
that, Chris?
it was
I don't remember
also
the.
it was also the year where we had a young freshman come in, Curtis Fitch, who ended up pushing Christian for some playing time
There
and
we
went
go.
on to
Yeah.
be, at the time, our all-time leading passer. Obviously, it was early in the career, but went on to play Appalachian State, and is now coaching at LSU. Is that correct? LSU?
LSU. He's quarterback coach
LSU.
over there.
Good for
So
him. I did not know
yeah,
that.
doing some good things. But how was it? You're a senior, you're coming back, you're playing, and you have this young kid coming in and pushing you for some time. Was that tough for you? Because you always handled it really well. I thought you
No,
were.
I always just thought that, I can probably make a few plays here and there, but he's actually the one that's going to go on and do stuff. And evidently he did. So, I mean, I got no hard feelings towards it. Good for him.
Yeah. Did you think that you were, or did you want to play football after high school?
Not particularly.
Okay.
No.
What was your path? What did you think, or what did you desire to do after high school?
To be honest, I knew I was gonna go to college. I just didn't really
Okay.
know to do what. Always probably kind of like something with law or something down the criminal justice path. So that's why I ended up doing criminology at FSU.
Nice.
But while I was
And
there, I had no idea really what I was gonna do. Always kind of contemplated law school and stuff like that, but I was just kind of thought never really panned out.
and so how long have you been a cop for? Wait, for one, what department are you with? So you graduate from FSU
Yep.
and you now join which law department are you with now?
Pasco Sheriff's Office.
Okay. And how long
Been
have
with
you
this
been with them?
October will be 9 years.
Wow. And tell
Yeah.
us, are you what rank do you have currently?
Detective.
Okay. So you're not, well, on the streets anymore. You're not
No,
patrolling.
no. So I kind of started off my career doing patrol, working nights in some not so great parts of Pasco County, mainly like Holiday area, which was a lot of fun. Loved it.
Yikes.
Kind of get the thrill of in the moment type stuff.
Hmm.
Transitioned out of that, did some field training stuff, so like new guys coming in, kind of train them how things were, and then moved into a behavioral health unit for a while.
Yep.
And then now doing the current role, I do what's called threat management. So I absolutely love it. I want to trade it for the world.
Nice. Now tell us, how long were you on patrol for?
Oh, so my story, I know you guys know, kind of got screwed up. So I went from, let's see, I did about 2 years, and then I got diagnosed with cancer January 5th, 2018. So that put me out for about a year, going through treatment and everything like that. Sheriff's office was absolutely amazing, kept me around, let me go and do a civilian role, working like desk and working in different departments within that. Um, for probably about a year, and then went back to the road, and then just kind of progressed from there afterwards. So it's kind of hard to say when people ask me that question, like, how long have you been doing it for? Well, there's a bit of a
Yeah.
gap, but
Well,
also kind of
tell
a
us
bit of,
what kind of cancer were you diagnosed with?
yeah, I was diagnosed with a form of leukemia. It's a AML, acute myeloid leukemia. So
Yep.
basically, what it is my white cells in my blood just weren't working the way that they should be.
Yeah.
Um, so my body wasn't able to fight off infections or just kind of do the normal thing that anyone else's body would.
Yeah.
I was just getting sick easy, getting really tired, bruising. It's kind of like the poster child almost for it. Credit most of it was because I was young, dumb, and just ignored all the signs for a while, to
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah. Now,
But
what treatment course did you have to go through? Um,
yeah, for that I did a couple rounds of chemotherapy, and then ultimately the big cure per se for it is a bone marrow transplant. So I've got two older brothers, and one of them was a half match for me, and then one of them was a full match. So he was actually my donor. So ended up doing the bone marrow transplant route, and kind of stayed in the hospital off and on for oh, a while. I don't even know how many days it ended up being, but too many.
yeah. Yeah. Well,
So,
tell us, how about this? What are some of the lessons that you learned that kind of match from playing football to having to battle cancer? What are some of the things that you learned from playing football that you took
yeah.
into that battle?
Some things just suck. Like, and you just got to go through it.
Yeah.
So kind of those early days of practice, you're just out there and it's the middle of summer and it's just you're sweating, you're hot and you're miserable and there's really nothing you can do other than just go through day by day. Um, Cancer was kind of a lot of the same way too. Like as much as you just wanted things to hurry up and get better and feel normal again, you just kind of literally took it day by day and you're just watching numbers and
Yeah.
it's definitely kind of a lot like that. Just any anything really, because I mean I wrestled too, so it was the same thing. There were just days where practice just sucks, but you just grind through it, and you just know that there's going to be an end day to it, so you just keep
Yeah.
going.
Now, how long have you been in remission?
My transplant date is May 25th of 2018, so it just hit 6 years.
Wow, that's awesome. That is
Yeah,
awesome, and still cancer free.
Fantastic.
as far as I know. So
Well,
Beautiful,
congrats. That's
beautiful. Let's
beautiful, man.
let's shift a little bit because now another question that I'm sure people that are listening and people that are watching want to know is the similarities. Give us some of the similarities about being on a football team and being on a in the sheriff's office. What is it
yeah,
like in the locker room? What is it like out in the field? I'm sure there are some things that there are some similarities on both of them.
yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's people that I've gone through pretty much my entire career with,
Mhm.
um, where I just know if I have to, we show up to a scene that, all right, I just instantly know that they're going to do certain things and I'll take care of other things. So kind of the same thing, just playing with on the football team. You just knew over time, like, all right, this person, they've got a tendency to cut it a little short or go a little bit longer, or kind of fade something out wide, and you just kind of over the time you just build those repetitions with people and just start to learn and know. I've had the very fortunate venture of getting to join our SWAT team too after coming back, which was always kind of a goal of mine, and getting sick kind of screwed that up. So getting to drill extra and work with all the other guys on the team, it was, I always kind of wanted that team aspect, and that's what I always kind of liked about football and everything like that. So getting to join that was great too.
Nice. So you're a part of the SWAT. How long have you been part of the SWAT with the sheriff's office?
That's only been recently, about a year, actually.
Nice,
Yeah, last month was a year.
nice.
One of our former players, a little bit after you, Cody Burgess, went through SWAT training recently, and said it was absolutely brutal. Like there were
Oh yeah,
things he was like, I think they just do this stuff to just see how long we can take it.
yeah. There's definitely those days. I mean, my training was a 2 week um, SWAT school. So I mean, you start off and there's an assessment and tryouts and all that, and then if you get picked, then you can kind of go to SWAT school, and that's about 2 weeks long, or it is 2 weeks long, and yeah, it's just that's misery too in itself. I mean, nothing you do is right. You just accept that and just move on, and
Kind of like playing for Coach Graham, right?
yeah,
You're like,
very similar. So
yeah, that's right.
yeah, yeah. That little famous guy. So,
Listen, tell us what is the toughest situation that you've been in as a cop. 9 years you've been doing it. Um, what is one of the toughest things you've had to go through situation wise?
um, like physically,
Just in general, like
in
all
general,
together. Yeah, physically. Let's
uh,
start there.
physically, probably SWAT school.
Okay.
Going back and from that, but after I came back from being sick, just for the longest time I couldn't work out, I couldn't do anything, so I
Yeah.
really just kind of started to enjoy just like being drenched in sweat again, like that full body, just like completely like head to toe covered in sweat, because for so long I just wasn't allowed to do it. I couldn't.
Yeah.
So I kind of learned to enjoy it, and
Yeah.
I like it, but it still sucks. Like absolutely sucks.
What what was one of the hardest situations that you were put
Mentally.
in playing football?
Uh, I think one of the biggest kind of ego hits was I also TA'd for Coach Graham. I was a teacher's assistant
Yeah.
for him, and it's kind of a bit of an ironic thing that I was a TA for a guy that did credit recovery and really didn't have anything to do as a teacher to begin with, but still a great gig, so I'm not going to complain. But there was one day he was covering for in school suspension, and he sat me down and he just turned the computer screen to face me and he said, "You see that?" I was like, "Yeah, what is that?" He said, "You lead the county right now in tackles as a quarterback." And it's because I threw so many interceptions. So I
That's
think that was kind of like the ego hit, definitely.
Oh, that's
I was like,
awesome.
yeah, well, I mean, if you're gonna do it, at least don't let him score, right? Was my comeback, and I don't think he actually enjoyed that too much, but
Oh, that's awesome.
Classic Graham.
It is. I mean, listen, Coach Graham, if you're friends with him on Facebook or you see him on social media, he's got like his kids now have kids, so he looks like
yeah,
full grandpa now.
Yeah.
good,
Like he's got a
good for
big
him.
gray beard and like he's a whole different Coach Graham than what
Yeah,
is it now? 16 years ago, 15 years ago.
yeah,
Which is
yeah,
amazing that you graduated in 2011, which
yeah.
that's like, listen, that's 13 years ago.
Oh
Isn't that
yeah,
wild?
oh yeah.
Tell us how long you've been married.
When did we get married? 2019. So this will be 5 years in December.
Okay.
I got to hear the
How's
story. So you guys went to high school at the same time, didn't really
Oh
know each
yeah,
other in high school, and you met at FSU. How did that whole thing happen?
yeah. No, we even went to the same middle school together. We went to Walker Middle School. Eleni's a year behind me, but yeah, didn't know each other at Walker. Didn't know each other at Steinbrenner or Sickles, and then I was up there and I was actually sitting in a bar one night, and she came up and asked me if I was the terrible quarterback from Steinbrenner High School, and I was like, exactly who I am. So
and the rest is
that,
history, huh?
Love at first
yeah,
insult.
yeah. It's worked out ever since.
Phenomenal.
2 kids later, so
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the kids. You got a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old, boys,
yep.
girls.
Uh, the older one's a little boy, and then
What's his
the
name?
youngest one that we just had is a little girl.
What are their
So
names?
the boy's Blaze, so it's an old family name on my side, Blaise, Blaze Carriere,
Awesome.
and then the other one is Isabella Hope. So
That's
Hope
awesome.
was always kind of something that her grandmother had brought up for us during the cancer treatment and all. So we just kind of wanted to pay homage to that with the middle name.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
that's phenomenal. How's fatherhood, how's parenthood going so far?
I love it. It is an absolute blast, but it is a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot more
Thankfully,
work than you think.
yes. Well, it's we had it good for a while with our son with plays. He was doing great, and then Izzy came along, and it too is a game changer too. That
Zone
is
defense,
a
baby.
whole yeah.
Damage control.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the
John,
second
Two's
one,
so
and the second one is always the barn burner. The first one you're like, oh, I mean, we could do this a few more times because this one is chill, and then the second one comes along and just burns the house down. And you're like, what are we
uh,
doing?
then
Why?
she's hiding it pretty good right now because she's actually been the good one. He's in that terrible two stage, so he's the one running around being a little madman. But he's fun. I love it.
Oh
it's
yeah.
Throwing
it's
games
really
at
it's really
restaurants.
dope though when it doesn't matter what kind of day you have at work. We've talked about this before, but you come home and your kids just see you and it's like everything's good, man. Like
Oh
you're
yeah.
they're like, yes, my hero's here. We can play now. And it's
Oh
like, all
yeah.
right, nothing else matters. Let's go.
Oh yeah. When he sees you and just runs and just has that big giant smile, you're like, all right, at least for that split second, whatever is going on at work just is back over there, and yeah, he's just ready to play and do something. So
Listen, it's the same. They're those the kids, they're so oblivious to what the real world is going to offer them later on. And especially for
that's
the job
good.
that you have. Like you see that stuff every day, and then you come home and it's a completely different world. Um, you have to keep that innocence for as long as you can, man, because everything with social media and phones and screen time, the longer you can keep them um, in your sights, the
Yeah.
longer that they stay your kids. And then before you know
Oh
it,
yeah.
like they start going to school, and then they start, it's over after that, dude. They start saying skibidi toilet and start. You'll learn all this lingo later. they start twerking and
I
well, it's all over.
listen with what I do. We've there's probably a few times a month that we all just round table in our unit and just try and understand what the new words are that the kids say. Because one of the big things that we sometimes have to investigate is like the threats at the schools and that
Yeah,
type of
brother.
stuff. So we'll
Oh yeah.
yeah, we'll
Hey,
start to like go through a kid's cell phone and start to see stuff from like we're pulling out freaking Urban Dictionary more than anyone else. I'm
yeah,
sure our IT department is wondering what the hell we're doing in our unit. We're
yeah.
trying to Google all these words and everything, but we're like, we just genuinely don't know.
There- you are the youngest in this conversation, so you remember high school probably the fondest. The kids now that you see and you work with, were you guys worse, or is this generation worse when it comes to high school antics?
It's just different, right? We did dumb stuff. I mean, like I said, I had two older
We did
brothers,
too.
and it was just stuff back then. I feel like was just like dumb pranks and like didn't really. It was there's no malintent behind it, but
Yeah.
now it's just like it's savagery. Like some of these kids, like what they'll
Hmm.
tell each other and what they'll do to each other and stuff, and just it almost just feels like they're generally trying to like break the other person. Whereas like for
Oh
us, it was
wow.
just like, hey, we just want to do something dumb and silly. Like I remember we had like our senior prank. They took a bunch of those stone tables that were out front of the cafeteria and put them in front of the doorway so no one could open the doors. Like it was just dumb stuff like that. It didn't hurt anyone.
But it's
Nowadays, it's
funny.
like, yeah,
That
nowadays
that is actually kind of funny.
it was, especially since the county had to bring in like a backhoe and like all this other stuff. What a few kids did with a floor jack from one of the
Yeah.
back of their trucks, like the county had to. I don't even know how many people they had to bring in, but yeah, now it's just these kids are just savages to each other, and it's
Yeah. Have
I don't
listen,
know,
have you been back to Steinbrenner since you graduated?
a couple times, yeah, yeah,
You know, a trivial fact here again also, and Coach Greg passed it along to me that Christian, you were the first honorary captain for Steinbrenner, and you did the first ever coin toss for us. Coach Greg told me that. I thought it was somebody else. I thought it was Greco. He goes, no, no, no. That was Christian, the very first one. I was like,
yeah.
oh, that's amazing. But I didn't know how much you actually came back to the school to see how different it is.
We were back not too long ago for one of the flag football games because my wife played flag football.
Oh yeah,
So we went back for one of the alumni things for that.
yeah.
But yeah, night and day now. I mean, the AstroTurf, the
Oh,
rubber
yeah.
ice track, jumbotron,
Tell
like
tell the people, tell people listening, what is the memory that sticks out the most about the old stadium?
oh god, there was just so much sand that they used to put onto that field just to try and dry it up,
Yeah.
and
Do you remember the
and
bugs
then
that we would find? That would just
oh
be like,
yeah,
what is that?
In
yeah,
your generation, we talk about that southeast corner of the end zone
Yes.
when you first
south,
run in. Do
yeah,
you remember that? Where the
oh yeah,
drainage ditch was?
yep.
And a whole
It used to
season, the whole
back up.
2000. Yeah.
You
I don't
step
think
there
that I
and it'd
don't
be like
think
waves.
I don't think that drain actually went anywhere. I think they just dug a hole and like put a grate on top of it and called it a drain, but it didn't do anything.
Listen, I remember the whole 2010 season. I ruined so many pairs of shoes because that whole season, that back corner stayed soaking wet. And I think
So
that's what helped us win a few games too.
So I used to, I remember when I first started, it was always like, oh, go get the nicest cleats, go get the $120 cleats, go get this, go like you were trying to flex on everyone. Now it's just like eventually I got to the point where I'm like, I'm going to Ross and getting like four or
Yeah,
five pairs of cleats because we were
yeah,
just going through them so fast. I didn't really care that in a week's time they were going to be trash anyways. I was just going to have to rotate through them. Yeah, it was bad.
yeah. Yeah, a lot has changed with the big screen that we have at the high school now with the turf we've got at the school now. but also with the
Yeah.
program. The program has shifted and changed a lot. Um, but it's safe to say that you were one of the pioneers, one of the guys that laid the groundwork for the success that the program is having now. Um, tell us a couple things. Tell the guys who watch, because a bunch of the guys in the current team tune into this. Tell them something. Tell them, give them some inspiration of, from the good old days, old school days.
The old school days. Oh, I
Or
don't know
just
about the
life
old school.
advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
say the old school days weren't so good. They got it good now. We were struggling to win games and all that, but just have fun with it because it goes by so fast, and then you move on to something else. But like you'll still take those lessons that you're learning now and apply them elsewhere to stuff. But yeah, don't be afraid to go and try stuff. And I think it took me way too long to realize that in life to just go out there because I do it at work now, and I found something that I love in my work. But I love just learning new things and trying new things, and because you'll see it with people, I'm sure, Cuscus and Austin, you guys can attest to this much more wisdom than me that people just get stagnant and don't want to push themselves and try, but like always just try and learn new things and try something new.
that's great
Love it.
advice. That is great advice because again, a lot of the guys that are playing now, they live in a completely different generation where everything is automated. Where you don't have to when you want information, all you have to do is ask Siri. When you want
Yeah,
food, all you have to do is Uber Eats. Hell, when you want a date, all you got to do is swipe right and swipe left.
You know what's
There
interesting
is Go ahead.
is think about what he just said is people get stagnant. And that happens with educators too, and we see it all the time. And my wife and I have made a big push to include AI in our classrooms now, where we are using AI in our lessons. But there's a lot of teachers that still hand them a book, put your phones away. That's not their generation. Like these kids can do incredible things with technology if you give them the opportunity. But there has to be a balance because there are times where you definitely need to use a book and understand how that works. But I think there's a really important like shift happening right now in education where there has to be some change on the education side where we are incorporating those things into our lessons and into the curriculum because that's the way the times are going.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think just understanding the basics and listen, like Austin said, going through it, grinding, embracing the suck, and but yeah, learning to
Yeah.
adapt and overcome and go with the changes is definitely huge, especially nowadays. Because if not, you're just gonna get left behind. You got to
I
learn
got an
quick.
interesting question for you. I think we discussed it once, but I can't remember. Do you guys do anything? I think your county is the one that does the live PD stuff.
So they used to.
Uh-huh.
Live PD went away a while ago, but yeah, we used to for a while. They were one of the first and one of the biggest ones to jump on that train.
What is
You know about this,
live
Austin?
PD?
Yeah, tell
No,
Austin
what
about
is
this.
live?
It's awesome.
What live PD is? Live
All over
PD
YouTube.
was like a reality show. It was basically like the newer
Cops.
version of Cops. Yeah, yeah,
What?
exactly. It was they would ride with someone, and it was always like two cars. Like it was a big production to have them with you. I thankfully never had them. I didn't want them and to deal
Yeah.
with any of that. But yeah, they would follow you around, and they claim it was live, but it was about a 15-minute delay to where if something truly egregious happened, I think they always had the ability to kind of
Edit.
turn it off.
Yeah.
But
What?
yeah, they just go around and just ride with a person for. There was, I think, I can't like 7 or 8. I don't quote me on that. I have no idea how many departments, but they would just cycle through them throughout the night, just going to different counties or municipalities that had the crews with them.
Look it
What?
up. Look up live
Yeah,
PD on YouTube
Live
tonight. It's
live
awesome.
PD. So
Live PD
it's like,
yeah,
task.
that's like Running Man. You remember that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger? They like follow them live while they do. That's wild. Did
yeah.
you? And so
I,
Pasco County used to do that.
Yeah, I want to say they did it for probably close to like 2 years or so. So we've got three districts, like the county is broken up into districts, and so
Mhm.
they would just kind of rotate through the districts and all. But yeah, I can't remember exactly how long, but it was probably close to about 2 years. That live PD, it was a huge thing too. I mean, the our sheriff was brilliant with it because it spurred on a huge following for social media accounts for the sheriff's office. It got a ridiculous amount of donations and other things to
Oh,
come in to help support the community. Also, I mean, it was a great, from a business perspective, it was a great
There,
idea.
there was an episode of Cops. Like this is like 20 years ago. One of the, still to this day, my favorite episode of TV ever. This guy goes and breaks into a shoe store and steals. At the time, they were called BK lights. You remember these, Austin?
yeah. Yep.
They were
British Knights.
British Knights, but they had
Yeah, British
lights. Every
Knights.
time you stepped, they would
Yes.
flash. So he's
Yes.
on a foot chase through a forest, and they can see where he's going because the lights just keep going.
The lights, love it, love it.
Fantastic.
But
That, that
we
one.
always have a saying: we don't catch the smart ones.
Yeah. That's awesome. And now they put them in like toddler shoes.
Yeah.
But listen, back in the 80s and 90s, the BK lights were phenomenal. They were like the Reebok pumps.
Yeah, I was too
They
poor for
were,
him. I wore Kmart shoes.
yeah, me too. I just watched people who ran away and played basketball in the BK lights.
Tell us your funniest police story that you're allowed to tell.
I was gonna say some of them probably aren't appropriate for this. We'll chance it with this one, with this story. So we had again, like I said, when I first started, I worked holiday nights, and I don't know if you guys have ever been to Holiday or
Yeah.
Holiday Pasco. Kind of is the southwest corner of Pasco County. It butts up to Pinellas County over by Turpin Springs and all. And so back in the day, it used to be a great little neighborhood in the 70s and all, and a lot of people retired there. So modest little cottage homes and all that. But as that generation faded, kind of not so great, people moved in. There's one neighborhood particularly on the south corner of that butts up to Tarpon called Holiday Lake Estates. And we had a guy there, and I promise you we can't make this up. He used to be a chronic masturbator, and he would just go,
Oh.
yeah, in front of like women's windows and stuff. And we used to just all hours of the night, and he was like seasonal too. He'd only kind of come out during the fall time. So it became such a problem that our captain that oversaw our district ended up saying like, "Listen, I will pay you like $100 steak dinner to whoever catches this dude. Like this is ridiculous." So we used to just flood the area all the time in the middle of the night and kind of cruise around blacked out in this neighborhood just looking for this guy. There's a few guys in my squad one night that pulled over this car just because it looked suspicious, and I was kind of cruising through and it had really dark tint, just looked out of place. They pulled over, and come to find out, this car is just loaded with one, convicted felons, two, drugs, guns, stolen property. Like it's a Ford Expedition, completely packed. Like it looked like a hoarder lived out of this thing. And so we start clearing out the car because we got to inventory everything and see what's stolen and just start investigations from there. And so it was a whole squad of us in the middle. It's probably 3 o'clock in the morning. We're doing this. And our supervisor at the time is down the road, kind of like supervising, but not wanting to be directly involved in this. And so at the time, he was on one of our riot teams and he was a grenadier, like did the grenades and stuff for that. So
Yeah.
we're all just kind of clearing out the car. And at one point, I just pull down the back seat and lift up this thing. And it's literally like a grenade launcher, like something that you would play in Call of Duty. And so I'm sitting there and looking at him like, man, they didn't teach us this in the police academy because I'm still pretty new at this point. I'm like a year in. I'm like, I don't think I missed a day, but I don't remember clearing a grenade launcher. Like, so we roll over to him and we're like, hey Sarge, listen, like there's a grenade launcher in there, and he thinks we're just messing with him because we did have a history of just pulling shenanigans on him. And so he's like, all right, I'm getting out of here. He puts his car in gear and starts to drive off. We're like, no, seriously, I'm not BSing you. Like, there's legit a grenade launcher in here. At this point now, he's just aggravated. So he goes over there and he pulls it up and he's like, "You gotta be kidding me!" And legit, it was like a grenade launcher. This dude's a convicted felon and everything.
Wow.
We ended up having to call a tow guy out to tow the car away, and he like just BS'd me. He's like, "Man, what do you guys got me doing at this ungodly hour, towing this car?" And we tell the guy we're just BSing with him, give him the backstory. We're like, "You want to see some stuff?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course." So we look, and he just sees all the guns. We had all the people in one car, all the guns in one car, all the property in another. We show the tow guy this, and he just looks at it and goes, "Man, this is some crazy white boy stuff right here, isn't it?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, for sure it is." And so he just laughed and he towed the car. But yeah, that guy, we're like, "Man, this dude stopped on out of everything for they put him over because his tint was too dark." And he had all this stuff, and he ended up doing years in prison for that. But
Wow.
you know, all that stemmed from we used to nickname him the legend in HLE, the chronic masturbator.
Did you find
And
him?
that's what's
Did you ever catch the guy?
years later we did. Years later we were able to time everything, but statute of limitations had timed out on everything. But they did end up finding out who it was. Yeah.
Oh,
Attaboy.
I thought
Ironic.
you were gonna tell that story that guy was in that car. I
Yeah,
was like,
me too.
Oh,
He was
no,
hiding
that
with
would've been
phenomenal.
better.
There's an armory and a masturbator in the car. This is the greatest
That would've been
story ever.
better. That would have been even better, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, listen, we appreciate it. That's an awesome story. A great way to kind of wrap it all up because I know you got to go back to dadding. We got to go back to being old people and going to bed. But
I'm right there with you.
listen, we appreciate your time. It's been so long since we've actually sat down and caught up with you. So we very much so appreciate it. We're so proud of you. We love you very much, and we love seeing what you're doing and what you're doing for the community, what you're doing for your family. And we appreciate you spending even just a little bit of time with us. So
Yeah.
I get
thank
you
you
out to a
very much.
game this year, buddy.
Yeah, come
I
out to a
know.
game. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I got
Hey,
a little more stable of a schedule this go around, so yeah, probably
and,
can
and
make it.
here's something. My oldest son will be a sophomore on the team this year.
Oh
My
yeah.
youngest son is going to be a freshman this year. So that's kind of
Cool.
crazy.
And then that's well, but he was back in the day when um the TJ was the ball boys have already the ball boys when you
Yeah,
were a player were have already played for us and
and graduate.
graduated and
I
graduated.
know. I
The
know. Cobble's
Puskuses were
little
just
brother.
when yeah,
uh,
Yeah.
Everett was less than a year old when I came to
yep,
Steinbrenner.
yep. So
Crazy.
now
Yeah.
now you'll be if you come to the games, you'll see the two Puskus boys now running around when they were the age of your kids when you were playing. That's how fast life is, man. It's
Oh,
quick,
I
but
know.
gotta enjoy it. Enjoy every season, enjoy every moment, and then like do your best. Do your best when you're at home at work, but then when you're at home, leave all that stuff, man, because it goes by so fast. So,
Oh, I know.
anyways, we appreciate you,
Love
Greggy.
you,
Yeah.
love
So
Enjoy.
Laney.
yeah, love to
Will
Laney,
do.
love to the kids. And on that, we will see you guys on the next episode. We appreciate you, Chris. Peace. We are out.
Have a good one.